Hey there, and welcome to your personalized deep dive. Ever feel like those personality quizzes just scratch the surface? Like there's way more to you than free spirit or a go-getter.
Right.
You're totally right, and thankfully you've handed us some awesome academic material on personality to unpack.
Oh, this is going to be good.
We're talking about ditching those stereotypes and diving into the real deal, the complex interplay of biology, psychology, even your family dynamics that shape who you are.
Absolutely. We toss around personalities so casually, but these sources go deep, exploring how our unique blend of traits isn't just about being likable. It's about the consistent patterns in our thoughts, feelings, and actions, the stuff that makes you distinctly you over time.
So no more pretending to be a social butterfly when secretly you'd rather be home with a good book.
Exactly. And it's fascinating to think that those patterns, those tendencies you're noticing, are rooted in this intricate system within us. One of the sources highlights a definition by psychologist Gordon Allport. He calls personality, get this, the dynamic organization within the person of those systems that determine our unique adjustments to the environment.
Dynamic organization sounds kind of intense, but basically there's this inner setup that drives how we react to the world around us.
Yes, and what's cool is this setup is shaped by both nature and nurture. Not either, but a fascinating tango between our genes and our experiences.
A tango, I like it. Speaking of cool moves, one thing that surprised me was how much our physical selves, like our actual bodies, factor into all of this.
It's easy to overlook how deeply intertwined our physicality is with our personality. For instance, think about how our physique, whether we're naturally geared towards endurance or strength, can impact our self-image and even the activities we gravitate towards from a young age. Did you find yourself excelling at certain sports as a kid? Like your body type just made those activities feel more intuitive.
Oh, for sure. I was definitely built for long distance running, not so much gymnastics. Makes you wonder how those early experiences on the playground or in gym class might still be shaping our perceptions of ourselves even now.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical capabilities, right? There's also physical attractiveness. Now, this is a sensitive topic, but the sources are very upfront about how much it influences how people treat us, even subconsciously, which in turn shapes our own self-concept.
It's like this constant feedback loop. People constantly react to you a certain way based on your looks. It's bound to affect how you see yourself, for better or worse. It's a powerful reminder that we don't exist in a vacuum. Our environment plays a huge role. Ready for another curveball? What about homeostasis? I mean, who knew maintaining a stable internal state like your temperature or blood sugar could have such a big impact on personality?
Right. You wouldn't think your blood sugar could influence your mood, but the research is clear there's a connection between those internal fluctuations, maybe from what we eat or how much sleep we get, and our outward behavior. Almost like our bodies are constantly whispering messages to our minds, shaping our interactions in ways we might not even realize.
Whoa, mind blown. Okay, so we've tackled how our physical selves come into play, but what about the psychological factors? This is where things get really juicy for me.
Absolutely. The sources dive into several key aspects, starting with intelligence. We often think of intelligence purely in terms of how smart someone is, but it's actually deeply connected to personality traits like introspection and creativity.
So someone who's highly intelligent might also be more likely to be introspective or creative. That tracks.
Exactly. However, and this is where it gets really interesting, extremely high intelligence can sometimes have unexpected downsides.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, the research suggests that people with extremely high IQs can sometimes face challenges connecting with others. Their thought processes might be so different that they end up feeling isolated or misunderstood.
That's such an interesting perspective on intelligence, that there can be unexpected challenges that come with it. It's a good reminder that things are rarely black and white when it comes to personality.
Absolutely. And speaking of complexity, we can't forget about emotions.
Yeah.
They're like the vibrant colors on the canvas of our personality.
Totally. It's like that classic glass half full or half empty idea. Our underlying emotional disposition can color our entire outlook on life.
Exactly. And the sources really emphasize that it's not just about having one dominant emotion, but about finding a healthy balance between those positive and negative emotions. We need that full spectrum to thrive.
So it's not about suppressing emotions entirely, but about finding that sweet spot, not too high, not too low where we're in control, but also allowing ourselves to feel things fully.
Right. And one thing that really stood out to me was how detrimental emotional deprivation, particularly during childhood, can be. Those early experiences of feeling loved and secure, or conversely feeling neglected, can have a ripple effect on our personality later in life.
It's like those early relationships lay the groundwork for how we approach future relationships, even our relationship with ourselves. It makes you realize how crucial it is to cultivate secure and loving environments for kids.
Absolutely. But on the flip side, the sources also caution against excessive love and affection.
Wait, really? Too much love can be a bad thing.
It seems counterintuitive, but the research suggests that it can actually stifle a child's development, potentially leading to immaturity or dependency issues later on.
It's all about finding that balance, isn't it? Not too much, not too little, the Goldilocks zone of personality development. Which makes me think about another key theme from the source's self-disclosure. Being able to share those inner thoughts and feelings, both the good and the bad, is so crucial for our well-being.
It really is. It's like opening a window to let fresh air circulate. The research actually links self-disclosure to both improved mental health and stronger, more authentic relationships.
It's about letting people see the real us, warts and all, and in turn, allowing ourselves to see and accept ourselves more fully. But how does all of this, like our emotions and how we share them, play into our bigger goals and aspirations?
That's such a good question because those aspirations and achievements are central to how we see ourselves in the world. It's that age-old, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Hmm.
But it goes way beyond just careers.
It's about those hopes and dreams we hold for ourselves, those milestones we want to achieve, right?
Exactly. And the source material emphasizes how our perception of successes and failures in achieving those goals plays a huge role in shaping our personalities. Think about those goals you set for yourself, maybe in your career, your relationships, or even personal growth. How have those experiences, the wins and the setbacks, shaped your outlook and your sense of self?
It makes you realize those moments where we push ourselves outside our comfort zone, whether we succeed or stumble, are actually shaping us in profound ways.
Absolutely. Those experiences become like markers on our personal timelines, shaping how we approach risk and resilience. And, all of this ties back to what we were discussing earlier about the power of our environment.
Hmm.
Remember how we talked about those early influences shaping who we become? Well, the sources dive even deeper into this idea of social acceptance and how those experiences, especially during those formative years, can leave a lasting imprint on our personalities.
It's like we've talked about how our family shapes us, but what happens when we leave that nest? That's where social acceptance, or the lack thereof, can really rewrite the script of our personalities.
Precisely. That need to feel accepted, to find our tribe, it's hardwired into us. When those needs are met, when we find those groups where we truly belong, it can be incredibly empowering.
It's like that feeling of belonging gives us permission to be ourselves, to take risks, and to know that we'll be supported no matter what.
Exactly. But on the flip side, social rejection, particularly if it's repeated or prolonged, can be really tough to shake off. The sources suggest it can lead to feelings of inadequacy, low self-worth, and even influence how much risk someone is willing to take later in life, as they might unconsciously try to avoid repeating that pain.
It's like those early experiences of not fitting in might still be influencing our choices today, even if we're not consciously aware of it. Do you find yourself drawn to groups or situations where you felt that acceptance back then? It's amazing how those early patterns can linger.
It's incredible, isn't it? And it makes you realize how crucial it is to create environments, whether it's in schools, workplaces, or even online communities where people feel seen, valued, and respected for who they are.
Absolutely. And it's not just about those early years, that need for connection, that feeling of belonging that doesn't magically disappear as we get older. In fact, the sources actually highlight how detrimental social deprivation can be for older adults.
It's a really important point. As we age, our social circles often shrink, maybe due to retirement, health issues, or the loss of loved ones. And that isolation can take a real toll. The research links social isolation to an increased risk of loneliness, depression, and even cognitive decline.
It's like we need those social connections, those meaningful interactions to thrive throughout our entire lives. They're not just a nice to have, they're essential for our well-being. Speaking of essential, we can't forget about the impact of education. And I'm not just talking about acing those exams or memorizing historical dates. It's about the whole experience of being in that learning environment that shapes us.
Exactly. It's about those social and emotional lessons that we learn in the classroom and how those interactions with peers and teachers shape our sense of self.
It's like school becomes this microcosm of the larger world where we're figuring out where we fit in, testing out different versions of ourselves, and navigating those complex social dynamics.
And the research is clear. A positive school environment, one where students feel supported, challenged, and respected, can make a world of difference.
It's about creating that safe space where kids can be themselves, make mistakes, and learn from those experiences without feeling judged or inadequate. But we also have to acknowledge that not all school experiences are positive, right?
Unfortunately, that's true. We've all heard stories about kids who dread going to school because they're being bullied or they feel like they don't belong. And those negative experiences, particularly if they're not addressed, can have a ripple effect, potentially leading to anxiety, depression, and even academic difficulties down the line.
Yeah.
It underscores just how important it is for educators, parents, and communities to work together to create school environments that are truly inclusive and supportive for every student.
It's about making sure that every student feels seen, heard, and valued for who they are, regardless of their background, their personality, or their learning style.
Absolutely. And speaking of environments that shape us, we can't overlook the most influential one of all, family. Those early relationships, the dynamics within our homes, those have a huge impact on shaping who we become.
It's like that saying, you can't choose your family, but they shape who you are. And the sources really dig into some fascinating dynamics at play within families.
They do. One area they focus on is the emotional climate of a home.
So are we talking about those homes that are filled with tension and conflict versus those that are more harmonious and supportive?
Exactly. And the research suggests that growing up in a home where conflict is frequent or unresolved can have a lasting impact on a child's personality. It's like constantly navigating a minefield. You learn to adapt, but it takes a toll.
It makes you wonder if those early experiences might make it harder to regulate emotions, set healthy boundaries, or even trust others later in life.
Those are definitely possibilities. And on the flip side, children who grow up in loving, supportive homes where they feel safe to express themselves and where conflict is handled constructively, they often develop a more secure attachment style and a more optimistic outlook.
It's like they have that solid foundation of emotional security to build upon, which allows them to navigate challenges with more resilience and confidence. It makes you realize how those early experiences within our families can really set the stage for how we approach the world. And one aspect of family dynamics that always fascinates me is the impact of family size. Do you think growing up with siblings versus being an only child actually shapes our personalities?
It's a question that researchers have explored for years, and the sources suggest that yes, those different family structures can influence our traits in subtle but significant ways.
Okay, so spill the tea. What are we talking about here? Like, are middle children actually more diplomatic?
Well, the research does suggest that children from larger families often develop a strong sense of independence and resourcefulness. They've often had to learn to share their parents' attention, negotiate for what they want, and maybe even fend for themselves a bit more.
It's like they've gone through boot camp for life skills.
Exactly. And they might even become skilled negotiators and peacemakers simply by navigating the dynamics of a busy household. Remember how we were talking about social rejection earlier? Well, siblings might experience many versions of that within their families, and learning to navigate those conflicts can be valuable practice for navigating disagreements later in life.
It's like those sibling squabbles, while annoying in the moment, might actually be building crucial life skills.
Precisely. And then there are those who grow up as only children. Now, they might not have those same experiences of constant negotiation and compromise, but they often develop incredibly strong imaginations and a rich inner world.
Because they've had more time to themselves to explore their own interests, daydream, and cultivate their creativity without the constant presence of siblings.
Exactly. They've essentially had the freedom to create their own world within a world.
That's beautiful. But do the sources mention any potential downsides to being an only child?
They do point out that sometimes only children might need to put in a little extra effort to develop those skills of sharing and cooperation simply because they haven't had as much practice in those areas growing up.
Which makes sense. If you're used to being the only one playing with a particular toy or always getting your way, it might take some conscious effort to adjust to those situations where you have to share the spotlight or consider someone else's perspective.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing those early patterns and being open to adapting as we encounter new social situations. But ultimately, whether we're talking about only children, those from large families, or anyone in between, it's crucial to remember that these are just tendencies, not destinies.
Right. It's not like our family dynamics completely determine who we become. It's just one layer in this intricate tapestry of influences that shape our personalities.
Exactly. And when we start to factor in those broader social and cultural influences we encounter as we move through the world, well, that's when the picture becomes even more complex and fascinating.
It's like we're all walking around with these invisible backpacks filled with experiences, beliefs, and those ingrained patterns from our past, and those backpacks are constantly influencing how we interact with the world. It makes you appreciate the incredible diversity of the human experience, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Each of us is a unique blend of nature and nurture, shaped by our biology, our upbringing, and those countless experiences, both big and small, that we collect along the way. And it's that recognition, that understanding of our shared humanity that can help us approach ourselves and others with more empathy, compassion, and understanding.
I love that. It's about recognizing that there's no one right way to be, no single mold that fits us all. It's about embracing those differences and approaching each other with curiosity rather than judgment.
It truly is about embracing the beautiful tapestry of human experience and remembering that each person we encounter, they have their own unique story woven into who they are.
And just like those intricate tapestries, our personalities are constantly evolving, aren't they? It's not like we hit a certain age and bam, that's it. This is who you are for the rest of your days.
Absolutely. That's what makes this whole exploration so fascinating. We're not static beings. As we navigate new experiences, relationships, challenges, we're constantly adapting and growing,
Yeah.
which means our personalities are always evolving right alongside us.
It's like we bring this initial blueprint to the table, those genetic predispositions and early influences we've been unpacking, but then life throws curveballs our way, forcing us to learn, adapt, and maybe even rewrite parts of that blueprint.
I love that analogy of a blueprint that we can revise and update as we go. It's that dynamic interplay between our inner world and the external world that makes studying personalities so captivating. It's like trying to capture lightning in a bottle. There's so many variables at play, both within us and around us, constantly interacting and influencing one another.
So it's not just a matter of nature versus nurture, but this intricate dance between the two where one step influences the next. It's like a giant, ever-changing puzzle. Just when you think you've got a piece figured out, it might shift right before your eyes.
You've got it. And that's the beauty of it. It keeps us on our toes. There's always more to learn, to discover, both about ourselves, and about those around us.
It's like this never-ending journey of exploration, and the more we embrace that, the more we open ourselves up to understanding the incredible complexity of human nature.
I couldn't agree more. And it reminds us to approach ourselves and others with a healthy dose of curiosity, recognizing that those surface-level judgments we often make about personality are just that surface level. There's always so much more beneath the surface.
It's about remembering that we're all complex, multifaceted individuals, each shaped by a unique set of experiences and influences. And those experiences might lead us down different paths, but they all contribute to the richness and diversity of the human experience.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a crucial point. We've explored how our biology, our upbringing, our social circles, even our physical bodies, all play a role in shaping who we are. But where does free will fit into all of this?
Whoa, that's the big question, isn't it? How much agency do we really have in shaping our own personalities?
It's a question that philosophers and scientists have grappled with for centuries. To what extent are we products of our past experiences? And to what extent do we have the power to consciously shape who we are becoming?
It's like, are we passengers on this predetermined train route? Or do we have the power to switch tracks along the way? And if we do have that power, how do we tap into it?
And how much of that track switching is driven by conscious choice versus those unconscious patterns we've internalized over the years? It's a fascinating paradox.
Totally. And while we might not have all the answers right now, it's definitely something to ponder. As we reflect on all the factors that shape our personalities, maybe we can also ask ourselves, what aspects of who we are do we want to nurture? What patterns might we want to challenge or redefine?
It's like that quote, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now." Even though our past experiences have shaped us, we still have the power to influence who we are becoming.
I love that. It's a reminder that personal growth is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Precisely. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of personality.
But before we go, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. If you could go back in time and change one key experience in your life, something that you think might have significantly shaped your personality, would you do it? And if so, how do you think that change might have rippled through the years, leading you to a different version of yourself?
It's a fascinating thought experiment that just might reveal something new about this ever-evolving, beautifully complex being you call you.
We'll leave you with that. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing the beautiful complexity of being human.
Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Your support helps us keep creating valuable content like this. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never